everyone and welcome to xxMelle Potato Kitchen! Today, we are making homemade from scratch mac and cheese. So we're gonna start by making a bechamel and we're gonna add a shit ton of cheese. And in this recipe, I decided to add some merguez sausages because why not? Fair warning, I've got my wisdom tooth removed a few days ago. So my voice might be different. I may have a little bit less enthusiasm in my voice, but we're doing this. So you need, for the bechamel, butter, flour, and some kind of milk or liquid. In this case, I've used cashew milk because less dairy. There's already a shit ton of cheese in there. So here we go. And I mean, you don't have to use another kind of dairy. You can use milk. Milk is good. Do what you do. So I started by cutting the garlic and shallots really tiny. So basically you mince them. Once the garlic and shallots are minced, you will be able to cut the sausages. I have cut the sausages in quarters because I wanted tiny pieces of sausages and not big chunk of sausages. And then you're gonna want to cook them until they are golden crispy if you want. I didn't wait until they were crispy because I was impatient and I was angry, but you slowly cook them until they are golden cooked, crispy to your taste. You don't even have to put some, so if you don't, you don't. Here you can see I have deglazed the bottom of my pan because the sausages were sticking at the bottom with some fancy white wine. If you're not as fancy as me, you can use water. You can use vegetable stock, chicken stock. You can choose any kind of liquid. I would not recommend using tea or juice, but depending on the recipe, some tomato juice could work. Once all of that liquid is gone, you finish the cooking to the texture that you want. And in the same pot, you remove the sausages. In the same pot, you add the garlic and shallots at the bottom and cook them until they are starting to get golden. Add a cup of butter. Well, if you do this recipe for only you, I would recommend doing half of the amount that I did for this recipe, maybe even a quarter. I've used a cup of butter. So for a cup of butter, you use a cup of flour. It's the same amount of butter than flour. And once the butter is all melted and hot, you want it to be hot. You want the butter to be cooked, not brown butter, but you want it to be hot, not just barely melted. So once it's hot and that the shallot and garlic have started to turn golden, I added some spice to make their flavor boost a little bit and added the flour. Once the flour is in, you want to whisk in the flour with the butter really thoroughly. You really want to have no chunk of unbuttered flour. So all the flour needs to be wet. And you keep cooking for a little while until the flour starts to get a little bit golden. So you want to cook the flour basically, because otherwise it's gonna taste like raw flour and it's gonna be disgusting. So you cook the flour until it looks like it's starting to become golden, a little bit brown. Once you reach that point, you slowly add some milk. So I don't know the amount that I've used. As you can see, I'm using straight from the milk container. But you add some, you slowly add it, and you whisk in the flour, butter, garlicky mix. And you whisk until the temperature raises again. You're still gonna have a little bit of chunk of flour at this point. You whisk as much as you want. Do not break the flour chunk on purpose. Let them dissolve by themselves. If they don't dissolve anymore, add more milk. Add milk until you reach the consistency that you desire and that you do not see any flour chunk anymore. Then for the seasoning, I wanted this mac and cheese to be spicy. So here I added some cayenne pepper, some nutmeg, because nutmeg is good with milk sauce. Whisk it in, raise the temperature of the sauce. Once the temperature of the sauce has raised enough to a good temperature, you will add the cheese. Once the bechamel have reached a good temperature that it's simmering, add the cheese, because if you add the cheese before, it's gonna stuck at the bottom of the pan and it's not gonna incorporate with the bechamel. So the bechamel needs to be hot for you to add the cheese. Here I added a good 2 to 3 cup of chopped cheddar and a good cup or 2 of Parmesan cheese. The kind of cheese you use is really personal to your preferences, but if you want to have a strong taste of cheese, I recommend as adding chopped cheese, Parmesan, any kind of strong cheese. You can even use Swiss cheese. It's gonna be really strong. If you want it to be a little bit more soft, use regular cheddar. You can even use mozzarella. Mozzarella is not gonna add a lot of flavor, so I would recommend use mozzarella for the top if you want to do it au gratin. So yeah, once you added the cheese, if you notice that the amount of cheese was excessive like mine, you might need to add a tiny bit more milk in it to obtain the texture that you desire. I could have added less milk than I did, so if you follow the ingredient that I've put at the end, you should have a good texture. So you bring that back to a simmer because you've cooled that down with the cold cheese. Once it's reached the appropriate temperature, do a taste test, rectify the seasoning, and add your meat or whatever you want to add in, your veggie, broccoli. Broccoli could be really good in this. Mushroom could be too if you like mushroom. Basically, anything. It's up to you. In this case, I have sausages. You can add bacon bits too. That could be good. And then, well, while you're doing this, you can cook the pasta. You simply incorporate the pasta to the sauce. And if you want to do a nice topping on top of it and put it in the oven, you can, but it could be ready to serve right now. So if you put it in the oven, you put the sauce on top. You can do, here what I did is some breadcrumbs mixed with some Parmesan. It was Italian breadcrumbs, so it was pre-seasoned. If you use regular breadcrumbs, please season it for more flavor. Just add some Italian seasoning in it or whatever herbs you like. And I added some Parmesan in it because never enough cheese. Again, on top, I added like 2 or 3 cups of cheese and the breadcrumbs and put it in the oven at broil setting so that it become crispy and then all grilled on top, and it is au gratin. And it looks like this. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. It is a really, really nice recipe. It's pretty good. You just need to master the butter and flour step where you add then the milk slowly to not break up the flour and butter mix, and then you have a good recipe. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this mac and cheese. Follow me on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. I try to post this here regularly, once a week. If you're new here, welcome. I love you. I hope you guys enjoyed the potato video. I will try and make more. I do not have any current idea. So if you do, please let me know. And if you have any interest in a certain recipe, let me know. I want to know. And I'm going to try and do it. I'm currently working on making poutine sauce. I have made stocks this week to try and play with this and make some sauce for poutine. And I'm going tomorrow to buy some poutine cheese to try and make that. So stay tuned. Poutine is coming one day, probably after Christmas. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Love you guys. Bye-bye.